Hello folks, it's Paul here from Word on Watches. Today, just trying something a little bit different, to be honest with you. Um, First of all, I do feel as though some apologies are in order. It's been quite a while since I've posted on the channel here. I've had a lot going on. I've not been well. I'm still not well, to be honest with you. I'm still now recovering from quite a heavy cold. Work's been pressing and all the things, and I just wanted to apologise that you haven't seen much in the way of content here on the channel. But hopefully I've got something a little bit special for you today in the form of this fantastic G-Shock. This is the all-metal G-Shock, one of the limited edition watches from 2018. And I just want to take you through a little bit of this watch, and as well some of its special features and functions, which to somebody who's new to the G-Shock range, such as myself, make this watch very, very interesting indeed. So let's get stuck in. Let's talk a little bit about G-Shock themselves. G-Shock, well, they're one of the biggest watch kind of brands in the world, if you like. A lot of people out there for many years have owned a G-Shock, and it's served them well, I dare say, for all that time. G-Shock themselves are about 30 odd years old, 1983 kind of time, so 35 years old, 36 years old even. And they were born out of this desire that came from, having to have a watch that could withstand drops and things like that. That was how the G-Shock brand was birthed, if you like. One of the engineers from Casio had an unfortunate accident with a wristwatch, so the story goes, or a pocket watch or a wristwatch, and as a result they started to look into how watches could be created that were much more robust, can withstand knocks and scratches and jolts, things like that. Because don't forget, up until those kind of times, wristwatches really were very, very delicate things. And to be honest, we forget that in our age today. We forget just how fragile and delicate wristwatches used to be. This is one of the watches that kind of shifted focus onto more robust utilitarian kind of watches that could fulfill lots of different functions and do it rather well. So this is a limited edition. It was, sorry, scrub that, it's not a limited edition. It's a special edition release from Casio. It was released back in 2018, and it was one of three watches that was released in an all-metal kind of form factor here to celebrate the 35th anniversary, 35th year of the Casio G-Shock. And, well, people have often said, every serious watch collection should have a G-Shock in there somewhere. And I just had to follow suit. I had to reach out to the good folks over at Goldsmiths in Wigan, and they're duly obliged helping me get set up with this fantastic G-Shock. It really is a remarkable watch, and I've had it for a while now, and I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on why I went for this one, what G-Shock means to me, and kind of how it fits in with my broader collection. Because as you see, if you watch this channel at all, I've got lots of different types of watches, and none of them really are digital. I suppose some are quartz and some have a digital-esque kind of feel to them, thinking about the Breitling B50 cockpit, but they are all essentially analog watches, and this one is far from analog in design and also its form as well. So let's go back. 1983, Casio released the first G-Shock, looking pretty similar to this, but instead of this all metal design, it was put together with like a plastic resin. And the G-Shock principle stands for gravity shock. The idea is that the watch is protected against kind of gravity incidents and a drop from about 10 meters. So the principle is 10, 10, 10, 10 meters shock resistant, 10 layers of resin protection between the outside case here and the inside of the watch movement, and a 10-year battery life. That was the kind of design brief, if you like, for the G-Shock. I'm going to get it on the wrist so you can see what it looks like on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. So I've got smaller wrist sizes. It comes in 3 different variants. The watch head on all 3 is all metal, but aside from that, it comes supplied on either this black kind of rubber strap here. It's a bit tight at the minute. It's a warm day outside, so it's a bit tight. Or on a all metal silver kind of band bracelet that matches this, or a gold version, which also where the watch head is gold, gold coloured, and then the watch band itself is also gold, and that comes in a PVD variant. So it's a it's a coated metal as well, so it's got a very distinct feel to it compared to either the all steel or this steel with rubber strap. So this is how the watch looks on the wrist there. You'll see it's quite a snug fit at the moment for me. But it wears very comfortably indeed. It is on the chunky side, of course it is. This watch also features a negative display. So the lettering and the numbers are inverse on the LCD display. If you buy the other all steel version, which has got steel watch head and steel strap, it comes in the opposite. It comes in a positive LCD display, much more old school. The gold version also comes in this negative display. So the display technology is inverted. And when I looked at all 3, this is actually the cheapest. But in my opinion, the black strap on here really does match quite well with the negative display on the watch itself. If you have got any questions, if you're watching this, we are doing this as a live video. If you have got any questions, do give me a shout out. Happy to help answer them if I can. But the idea is that the design of this watch was really eye-catching, and it really kind of stood out to me, being completely honest. Being completely new to the G-Shock family as I am. This is my first Casio G-Shock. My last Casio wristwatch is at least 30 years previous to this. I wasn't into my watches. I was a young boy, and like many, I had a Casio wristwatch there. And you probably know that a lot of these are really back in the minute. You see a lot of people who are kind of style icons or style conscious, let's go that far. And you see that they're quite often sporting Casio wristwatches. This is unique. It's a very distinct digital watch with that square kind of design. This it's a bit Genta-esque. Genta, of course, was the watch designer for Patek Philippe. I've got to get these right. For the Nautilus, I think it's the Patek Philippe Nautilus. And the Audemars Piguet as well, the Royal Oaks. They've got similar styling with these kind of square, they've got a very distinct style, especially the Patek Philippe, I would say. And I think that's something that endeared me to the watch as well, was the fact that it kind of looks very distinct from any other watch. I'm not a huge fan of the Casio digital watches that, just look like standard watches almost. They've got hands on them, a couple of digital faces. I'm not really keen on them. If I'm going down the digital line, I want something like this. So let's take a look at the watch off the wrist again. I'll give you some thoughts about what I think about this bracelet as well. So the strap, rather. The strap is not up to the same quality as the watch. It's a bit thinner. The rubber material's thin, and it's a bit cheap feeling compared to this fantastic all metal construction for this watch. But that doesn't mean it's poor. It just means it feels a bit kind of not the same. Now, the incredible thing is that this particular watch here in the UK, if you get it on the resin bracelet, resin strap, I keep calling it a bracelet, it's a strap. If you get it on the resin strap, then it's £100 cheaper than if you get it on the all steel, so steel watch head that goes into the steel bracelet. But the steel bracelet, when I tried the watch on, I didn't like it. It just felt a bit cheap. It felt like a bit tacky. And I thought, wow, that's really, it's not a heavy steel. It doesn't feel like, it's just like a massive heavy watch. It just didn't feel that way to me. It felt a bit flyaway and a bit hollow with the steel strap on. What I also didn't like was on the all steel bracelet and watch head. This, as I mentioned before, the display is positive rather than negative. And I really like this negative display. I really like the fact it's a little bit more difficult to read, as you can see if I'm kind of doing this. And this is in relatively good light, mind, as well. But it is a little bit more difficult to see, but you have got this fantastic kind of light, which you just can't see at all because you're in daylight here. But the watch has got this really nice kind of cool blue glow. So it's never been an issue for me. All you have to do if you're not sure on the time is just rotate it a little bit like that. You catch the light and hey ho, away you go. So taking a look at the back of the watch, it has got this all steel back as well. This isn't departing from that. It's still steel back. It has got a PVD coating on the back though. It's got a really nice feel to it. I've left the sticky label on if you're wondering why that looks like that. And the watch strap features the special kind of Casio mounting system, which means you can't just whack any strap on that you want onto a watch like this, which is a little bit of a shame, but not too it's kind of expected, isn't it, really, with some of these watches. So the price on this is about 350 quid, so it's not cheap. However, the versions that go up each go up £100. So you end up, for the all gold version with a gold PVD coat, you end up paying nearly £600, 550, 600 quid. That's a lot of money for a digital watch, special edition or not. So I figured that distinct look of kind of the black strap, this black face here, but that striking all metal steel watch head really worked well for me, and that's why I went for it. And I want to just close up by telling you one more thing that I absolutely love about this watch, and then I'm going to get on to some closing comments as a brand new collector of Casio G-Shocks. So the other feature that I absolutely love about this wristwatch, there's two in particular. Number one, it's solar powered, so I don't need to change the battery. You can see that the solar panel is just, you can see it there actually, you can see that brick kind of design. And that solar design is very good at charging the watch when you're out and about, or you are just leaving it in the window or something like that. It's good enough to charge the watch, keep the battery tip top. When you don't wear the watch, the display goes off after a day, and then kind of it wakes itself up when you pick the watch up again, and it's kind of around light and stuff like that. And the other feature that I love about this watch is it is completely and utterly automatic. You don't even have to set the thing up when you get it out the box, because the watch sets itself up. You just need to leave the watch out and about in a window ledge somewhere. And this is in the UK, it's in parts of Europe, in America, and I think in Japan, or just somewhere else. There's a few places in the world that use this atomic time clock that's broadcast on a radio frequency. And this is one such device that can pick up that and then set the watch automatically. And what happens is once the watch has done it, in the top of the display it comes up RCVD, received, in the top. And that's to tell you that it's recently received an up-to-date time signal. And this watch becomes incredibly accurate when you do that, because it doesn't just do it once. It does it about 4 times a day. So every now and again, it'll just try and sync itself with an atomic clock. Now, to me, that is just absolutely fantastic. I'm not used to that. I'm used to having to wind watches up, for heaven's sake, let alone, it be set from outer space kind of thing. This is a very clever feature, and it's pretty standard on a lot of digital watches. But I just wanted to say what a big fan of it I am. This watch has been stored away for a while, so it isn't currently synced up to an atomic signal, if you like. But when it has been recently synced, the watch, as far as I can tell, is accurate to the second. So in my line of work, I work as a journalist, I work on the radio, in production, and all our time clocks in the radio studios are synced perfectly around the world. I work for the BBC, so the time has got to be incredibly accurate, not just locally but internationally as well. So all our kind of wall-mounted clocks in the studios are incredibly accurate. And what's really nice is turning up to work with this thing on the wrist, and you check the seconds on this, and then you check the seconds on the wall clock, and they perfectly match. And it just is such a tribute, if you like, to some really nice, thoughtful design that goes on. So what would I improve about this watch if I could? I'd make the tones a bit louder, because sometimes they're a bit quiet if you listen. They are a bit quiet, the tones. When I was a kid, I seem to remember them being louder. I don't know whether that's just an illusion of my memory, but it seemed like the watches had more of a tone to them. The other thing that I would improve would be the quality of this little strap here. It feels a little bit thin, not quite as chunky as I maybe would have liked. The important bit of the strap is this bit here, which actually acts as shock resistant if the watch drops on there. It's a beautiful story of the guy who invented this watch throwing them out the window of the loos of Casio headquarters to check to see whether they were, surviving the fall. I don't know how true that is, but that's the story that often does the rounds with the Casio G-Shocks. So I'd probably improve that a little bit, especially on this watch, this all metal behemoth of a watch. You kind of have invested in this, and it looks fantastic. It's got a very solid feel to it, and especially nice looking at it with polished and brushed, and looks really good. And then you kind of manhandle the strap, and it just feels a little bit cheap compared to the rest of the watch. So I'd change that. What else would I change? I can't really think. It's such a good watch. It's fun. It looks great on the wrist. I'm going to end with a wrist shot again. It looks great on the wrist. It sets itself up. My advice is don't bother with the app. It does come with a mobile app, and it's Bluetooth ready and all kinds, and you can set it up on your phone, and ignore all that, because if you do set it up in that kind of environment, then it keeps checking your phone to sync the seconds, and if your phone's not synced, then what's the point? So instead of bothering with all of that, what happens is, I think actually, let's just see what happens here if I hold this button in for a while. Yeah, so what it's doing now is it's actually trying to sync with the atomic signal that I mentioned before. So the seconds disappears out of the display for a while, and then it'll come up an L number, and it's L3, L2 and L1. And L1 means great signal, really doing well here. It's got L1 straight away, which means it's really happy with the atomic time signal that it's detected. And then in about a minute to 2 minutes, the L1 disappears. The seconds reappear in that part of the display there. And then it comes up received at the top of the watch here, RCVD. So it's just jumped to L3, which means the level... Oh, I think it's the other way. I think L3 is the strong one. L1's the rubbish signal. L3 is the strong one. It's something like that anyway. We'll see in a minute, won't we? Because hopefully that'll disappear and the watch will be perfectly synced. They do say never try and do these things live, don't they? But I have. Could this come back to bite me? Who knows? The point is the watch does this itself. If you don't bother Bluetoothing it to your phone and downloading a pretty rubbish app, I've got to say, on Android or iOS. The app's pretty basic, pretty naff. It's handy for setting up world time, I suppose, if you want to set up world time. It's got, I think it's up to 4 different time zones that you can set up on the watch. You've got 4 alarms, stuff like that. You can send reminders, but it's a bit gimmicky. What I love about the watch is it looks after itself. So I instantly desynced it from my mobile phone, got it back to factory default, and just said, you know what, once, twice, 3, 4 times a day, just attempt to sync to the atomic signal. And as long as it's able to do that, which it might not be able to do because I'm in the bowels of Word on Watch's headquarters here, so we're not really got great access to the outdoors radio signals, so it might not work. But you know what? It doesn't matter if it does or it doesn't. Take it from me, it does work when you're out and about and when you just leave it on the bedside table or near the window. Then each morning you get up. I don't know whether it has worked or not there. Oh, it says okay. It says okay. So I'll take it that has worked and that it is synced to an atomic clock. That is probably a good place to leave the video. I'm such a big fan of this Casio G-Shock. It really has opened up a world of wristwatch collecting to me that previously I was far too snobby to go anywhere near, and I hold my hands up and I say that I am the poorer watch collector for that. These watches are fun, they're comfortable, they're packed with features. There's a massive online community of watch collectors. It is possible to get little attachments that then allow you to kind of put NATO straps and stuff like that on these watches. Shout out to TGV, who's done exactly that with one of these watches. So that opens up a world of design possibilities. And I've just got to admit it, it feels like you're a bit cool wearing one of these. There, I've said it. Because a lot of people out there who aren't watch collectors are actually wearing these style watches. So, quite often I feel like the odd one out wearing a Breitling or an Omega. Everybody else out there is wearing digital watches like these. So this gives you a chance to, say, you know what, I might have some pretty posh other watches, but this one shows that I am down and cool with the gang. So there we go. That is the Casio G-Shock, and it uses the I think it's the B5600 watch movement, the mechanism movement inside. And it's a reissue to mark the 35th anniversary of the very first Casio G-Shocks, launched back in 1982, 1983. And this watch is a real quality timepiece when it comes to having something just a little bit different than your standard mechanical automatic watches. Of course, I suppose you can't really finish without mentioning that crisis, the quartz crisis that ushered in a brand new era of watchmaking, and Casio were definitely one of the main benefactors from that. But it is nice to see that watch collectors aren't just celebrating some of the fantastic design cues and functionality of these wristwatches, but including them in the collection as well. Thanks a lot for watching today. I'll get my words out eventually. I've only been at it half an hour. Thanks a lot for watching this video today. Loads of stuff on the channel. If you've got questions or comments, you know what to do. If it's worth a like or a subscribed, you know what to do as well. I've got a lot more content on the horizon for the channel. I've got a lot of things to be catching up on due to the fact that I haven't been posting on the channel for quite some time. So I've got a lot of things to catch up on. A lot of goodies coming the way of this channel. Some really nice watches that I've been asked to review, and that I'll be reviewing over the coming days, weeks and months. But in the meantime, please do get in touch. Your views and comments and opinion, they really are appreciated. I started this channel off because I loved my watches, and I just wanted to kind of have a channel to talk about them, really, to talk about my journey in collecting some of these watches, and also what I think about them, what I think about the industry. And along the way, let me tell you, my mind has been changed a number of times. When I started collecting these watches, and you know, I was looking at automatic kind of Omega this, Breitling that. You know, you really thought, oh gosh, where's Casios? But so wrong, so incredibly misguided. You know, you're missing out. You're missing out on so much fun. These watches are fantastic, and there's some real energy and enthusiasm behind this brand as well. So if you're out there and you're looking to get into watch collecting on this somewhat of a budget, you know, these start off at 20 odd quid. You know, for a watch that looks pretty much similar to this, similar functionality. For this one, you can get it for 80, 90 quid. You don't have to be dropping mega bucks on these watches. You really don't. You can be, you know, spending a fraction of what you would on some of the other watches that are out there, but getting a watch that is just well and truly up to the task. And my advice as well is get on the watch forums. So get stuck in, find out some of the history and heritage behind the G-Shock family and the founder of G-Shock. I was watching a video from Bark and Jack, Adrian at Bark and Jack. Well worth checking his channel out. I'm dropping a couple of names. I'll drop your TGV. I've already done that one. If you're into your watches, the Urban Gentry is, well, he is mandatory, in my opinion, for watching your watch videos. And then you've got Adrian at Bark and Jack, and I just love his style. He's also a Brit, so I love him for that. He's based down in London, where I'm based up in Manchester. But I just love his honest style, and I wouldn't mind getting one of his NATO straps on this watch, let me tell you that, because he sells his own line of NATO straps. But Bark and Jack, Adrian, does some fantastic watch videos, and he went along to a Casio event in London, and he was just commenting just how much more interest he had on his channel through that than he did on the Rolex. It's a great place to leave it. I'll see you soon. All the best.